So we've got this battle value thing. And one of the things in Battletech is you need to make decisions on what your force is going to be. Do you go the big guns, all assault mechs, and you've got 4 or 5 machines? Or do you go for a mix? Or do you go super cheap? And we've been exploring this idea. You need to be out there earning the battle value of the unit that you've selected, whether it's a tank or a mech. It needs to be doing what it's supposed to do every single turn. Now, whether it does that successfully or not, that's dependent on the dice and your tactics. But an example would be if I'm paying that battle value for a longbow and I'm just parked in the back and I'm not in direct firing, I'm not shooting, I'm not participating in the battle, I'm not earning that battle value. I might as well not even have that machine on the table. So yes, turn 1, turn 2, I might be moving into position. I'm not quite earning that battle value, but I'm getting into position. But turn 3, I'm firing, I'm earning. So we look at this idea of earning. We then ask the question, well, was it worth it? And we also ask the question, how low can we go? How efficient can we be in our battle value? So within that framework, I wanted to look at the Scorpion tank. This is an inner sphere, quick sell product. Just really kind of budget tank, militia type tank, low tech, and sometimes low tech works. Essentially, you get a lightly armored, kind of okay speed tank with a light autocannon and a machine gun. And we're talking about the stock variant. The battle value is extremely low, but in thinking about this, I think this is one of those tanks where, is it really worth it? Am I better off just taking something else or doubling or tripling up and using it for a mech or something else that has some more punch? So let's explore that framework. Now, certainly there's times where you might take something for the lulls. You're just curious to see how it's going to work. I'm going to take a bunch of fire starters, right? Just it's a mech mission and the opposing mechs are moving through an area and it happens to be a training mission with 4 fire starters. Right? And here we go. Let's have 4 fire starters versus your mechs. Sometimes you take things because you're curious. Other times you'll take machines or mechs because that's part of the scenario. If I'm some kind of backwater planet, low tech level, if I have any mechs, they're going to be on display at the palace. It's mostly going to be combined arms. And even the tech there, it's not going to be PPCs and fusion carriers like the Shrek PPC carrier. It's going to be low-tech stuff. So there are times defensively or as part of a mission, you might take, an example, Scorpion tanks. But if everything's kind of open, the first challenge I have is, well, you take Scorpion tanks for the initiative sync. You're trying to buy in low battle value. So this way, if you lose a machine or two, you're still in the game. Or you can force your opponent, win or lose initiative, to move other key pieces, and then you get to move. Well, the counter to that would be if I want initiative syncs, and I'm not saying they're not important, then I could easily do that with infantry. Well, maybe it's a scenario where infantry aren't really going to be that useful. A lot of open areas or kind of a desert type map or open rolling plains. Mechanized is better, so maybe I won't take infantry. In terms of getting some cheap guns on the table, don't underlook cheap guns on the table. Lots of little field pieces to fire. Well, I feel like I can do that for less battle value with field guns. If I just want some cheap AC2s or AC5s on the table, I could go that way. But now this is where things get interesting. If I want some light autocannons just to kind of plink away, can I get those plus other options? A perfect example would be like the Blackjack. Now, yes, there's a huge buy-in value between a Scorpion and a Blackjack. Absolutely. But I can get the cheap long-range autocannons to plink away on the table with the Blackjack, but still have the mobility of a mech, the resiliency of a mech, and also I've got those medium lasers. So I am spending more battle value, but I'm getting 2 or 3 rolls on the table. Then you get into this thing where you're taking the Scorpion tanks. Maybe I take 2 for the plinking value. I'm saving battle value, but they're just going to fold absolutely immediately, very, very quickly with a little bit of pressure. Because don't forget, we've explored vehicles I've pushed up to the Battletech playlist, understanding the key differences between vehicles and mechs. And I know there's different classifications of vehicles, wheeled, tracked, and hover. But to kind of generalize, mechs are a lot more resilient in their ability to move. Vehicles, not so much. You start taking hits, you start taking motive hits, they're more vulnerable to criticals. And I'm discounting that lucky headshot or kind of that lucky one shot. That could happen anywhere in Battletech, irregardless of battle value. But this gets into the fact, if I am spending low-key battle value just to get some autocannons or some plinking on the table, then as soon as things fire, I'm going to start losing it. So I'm trying to think of the words to explain it, the lowest battle value possible buy-in, is there a floor where if it goes so low, it just really can't compete? It really can't compete, and you're better off combining those two battle values or those three battle values, or you're better off kind of upgrading to that. So within that framework, I feel like sometimes the Scorpion tank and examples of that really, really are too low. Now, that said, I have 4 in my collection. I occasionally play it. Again, putting aside where it's not a game, take what you want to take, and I'm going for the lulls, it does have a place in militias or specific missions. We've used them for bodyguard type missions where it might be a convoy going and there's a hover transport and I have to liberate it. My opponent has to liberate it. There'll be some low budget tanks there and some other support units from that perspective. So in exploring that in your collection, it does have a place, but is it battle value too low? How low is too low?